Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale at Channels Television's global headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. Tonight, we shall be dwelling on issues relating to Nigeria's structure and the agitations about the constitution. But before we get started, let's tell you that President MUHAMMADU BUHARI today received delegations of the Nigerian Governors Forum, NGF, led by the governor of Ekiti State and the chairman of the NGF, Governor Kayode Fayemi. Also there was the governor of Yobe State, where the president lamented the significance and the impact of the loss of the chief of army staff and the 10 officers who died in that tragic plane crash last Friday. Take a listen to the president.
This is a situation that only God knows when it will happen, and it happened. And it happened at a time when the security situation in the country is a fundamental issue. And to lose such a choice officers just increase our problems. But we know what we are in for, and we will continue to work hard and pray hard so that God will give us the power to appreciate and apply ourselves to the problems. The people who elected us, they know the promises we made within the time. The circumstances under which we find ourselves. We will keep on trying. We know what we have promised within the time limitation and resources available, and we will continue to do our best. I thank you very much for this visit. And I'm very pleased you thought about it and about visiting the families. Thank you very much for your concern. Thank you very much.
Unwa, the president says he's committed to ending a conflict between herders and farmers and also ensure that a sustained and lasting solution is preferred to the problem of the gun-wielding killer herdsmen. President MUHAMMADU BUHARI has therefore approved a number of specific measures to bring a permanent end to the frequent skirmishes as recommended by Alhaji Sabo Nanuno, the Minister of Agriculture, in a report he submitted, and the President signed off on it back in April. Well, before the actions of the Southern Governors Forum, which placed a ban on open grazing and other acts of politicking intended by signatories to demonstrate their power, the president said in a statement by his media aide that it is very clear that there was no solution offered from the resolutions of the governors to the herder-farmer clashes. According to him, citizens of the southern states, indeed citizens of all states of Nigeria, have a right to expect their elected leaders and representatives to find answers to challenges of governance and right, and not to wash their hands of hard choices by instead issuing bans that say, "Not in my state." The statement reads in part, "It is equally true that the announcement is of questionable legality, given the constitutional right of all Nigerians to enjoy the same rights and freedoms within every one of 36 states and FCT regardless of the state of their birth or residence." The president has therefore commissioned and approved an actionable plan of rehabilitating grazing reserves in the state, starting with those that are truly committed to the solution and compliant with stated requirements. With veterinary clinics, water points for animals, and facilities for herders and their families, including schooling, through these rehabilitated reserves, the federal government is making far-reaching and practical changes, allowing for different communities to coexist side by side, supporting farmers to till their fields, herders to rear their livestock, and Nigerians everywhere to be safe. We get the reaction of my guest tonight on the position of the president. It does look like President Buhari is opposed to the position, some of the position of the southern governors. But before we get into that, these are some of your political roundup stories.
The Nigerian electoral umpire has come under yet another round of attacks, which led to an emergency meeting today. The latest incidents are on 3 offices of INEC in Anambra, Imo and Enugu states. The attacks were said to have taken place at various times on the night of Sunday, May the 23rd. The Anambra State Headquarters office of INEC was set ablaze in what is described as systematic and selective by the attackers. And the Ahiazumbaise local government area office of INEC Imo State was attacked about 6:45 p.m. in an obvious attempt to set the building ablaze. While about 1 p.m. on Sunday, Igweze South local government area office was attacked. The store was completely burnt down before the neighborhood watch and the Enugu State Fire Service responded and prevented the inferno from raising other parts of the building. Less than a week after the defection of the Cross River State Governor, Professor Ben Ayade, from the People's Democratic Party to the APC, PDP stakeholders have come together to renew their commitment to the PDP. The delegation is led by the immediate past governor of the state, Senator Leo Limoke, and some House of Assembly and House of Representative members. They called on the party stalwarts to remain united in the face of the recent defection of some of its members to the APC.
But that would not mean that as a...
The River State Governor Nyesom Wike has taken a swipe at the former governor of Niger State, Babangida Aliyu, for criticizing his handling of PDP affairs in River State. Mr. Aliyu was reported to have accused Governor Wike of being a dictator in the River State PDP and trying to usurp the powers of the party's National Working Committee. At the media briefing in Port Harcourt on Monday, Governor Wike dismissed the allegation. And the House of Representatives Ad hoc Committee on Recovered Loot has summoned the Accountant General of the Federation, Attorney General of the Federation, and the EFCC Chairman for failing to honor its invitation to an investigative hearing on recovered loot, movable and immovable assets from 2002 to 2020. Chairman of the committee, Adejiro Adeogun, describes their absence as disrespectful to the National Assembly. The heads of the agencies had sent in representatives instead who were rejected by the committee.
And today, some eminent Nigerians at a Fix Politics web conference debated whether the Nigerian constitution should be changed totally or be amended. Some of them gave their views on some of the flaws of the constitution as presently constituted, the 1999 constitution as amended. Some say that it should be totally changed. Some are saying it could be amended reasonably. Let's get more views on some of that position about Nigerian constitution, the structure of Nigeria as it is, which a lot of people have criticized as flawed, and perhaps some of the reasons of the agitations that we are seeing across the country. Tonight, I'm being joined by a senior advocate of Nigeria and the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, Professor H.S. Sage. He joins us from Lekki area of Lagos. Thank you, Professor, for joining us tonight. Prof, before we get into the conversation, perhaps a lot of Nigerians will want to know, what is the status of your committee, PACAC? Because we were hearing at some point that it was going to be disbanded by the president. What is the state of PACAC? Is it active right now?
Oh, yes. Extremely active. We are conducting lots of seminars online. We are also now moving into the states, trying to bring all the developments that were imparted at the federal level into the various state levels. We've been to about 20 states so far. And we have lots of activities going on right now.
Good that
so
we can
we've
get...
not been slowed down at all by any rumor.
Oh, great. So let's get into the matter of tonight. And perhaps the hottest news in the land is the position of President Buhari. You are a senior lawyer in the land. Some of the southern leaders who have come out either as southern governors or as PDP governors who have come out to say they ban open grazing. But this is not even, in fact, the first time that we are hearing. The northern governors have given that position. The Nigeria Governors Forum have also come together to give that position. But the statement coming from the presidency today, quote and unquote, the word used today is questionable legality. What is your reaction to that?
Well, to start with, I've been advocating ranching as the only way out for cattle herding since 2011. In fact, I was one of the first persons to talk about it until it became a very topical element, and until the actual activities of some of the herders became created an existential threat to many communities, particularly in the South. So I've been involved in thinking about what to do in this situation. Frankly, I don't think a declaration is sufficient. The governors have to go back to their individual houses of assembly and introduce motions the way Benue State did and actually pass a law on banning this grazing as it's taking place now and instituting ranching as the only alternative. So there's need for that. A proclamation is not enough unless they already have laws which give powers to their individual governors to simply proclaim, but which I don't think is the case.
So invariably, Prof, what the president is saying today is simple, that the position of the governors of the South was mere words and does not hold water legally. Is that, in simple terms, is that what the president is telling the Southern governors?
I cannot really explain what the president had in mind. It's only those who worked with him in issuing that statement who know it. But what I'm saying is that for this announcement of banning of open grazing to be effective, there is need for the various state houses of assembly concerned to actually pass a law banning open grazing. They need to do that. This is, for me, legally, it's a declaration of intent, where it should be followed up by legislation in the individual state houses of assembly of these southern states.
So invariably, Prof, so when they say that across the southern state, you cannot by foot rear cattle into the southern state. So anybody caught after their statement cannot be prosecuted under any relevant law. Is that what it means, legally speaking?
You've put your finger on it. You arrest a person for open grazing. Under what law would you have arrested him? Under what law would you prosecute him? So that's why I say it's a statement of intent. They have to carry on and actually pass laws prohibiting open grazing, the way Benue State has done.
All right, Professor Sage, tonight we will be borrowing from your wealth of constitutional experience and knowledge. Tonight, you will help bring to bear your knowledge on where we need to go, the flaws as you're seeing in our constitutional development, where we are today. For those who are saying, scrap this constitution, let's start all over again, should we do that or should we just amend? But we'll take a breather, and when we come back, we'll hear from Professor Sage his views on where we need to go, as people who are flawed have said that our constitution is flawed and the structure is deficient. The way forward is what we are seeking. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the program. Our guest tonight is a senior advocate of Nigeria and the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, PACAC, Professor H.S. Sage, who has been talking to us from Lekki area of Lagos. Thank you, Professor, for your time tonight. Let's get back to the conversation. And let me ask quickly, because of what is happening, these killer herders, those whom the president said, shoot at sight. Any one of them you find carrying AK-47, shoot at sight. Perhaps people will be asking the question, is there anything different from what the president said at that time and what the southern governors said? Now, the president has said that, look, the decision of the governors is questionable legally.
Oh, I think, yeah, the two statements may be related, but they are not the same. The governors are actually working on proscribing open grazing. What the president was concerned about was anyone carrying an AK-47 without permission. We all know that the herdsmen, particularly the criminal herdsmen, all carry AK-47, so they are affected. But that statement by the president affects anybody who carries an AK-47 openly without authority to carry it. So the two statements are different, although related in a sense.
Would you personally require the president, because for those who have said that maybe they expected something more, a firmer position from the president, would you personally, Prof, had expected something totally different or a little bit different in the attitude and the approach of President Buhari to the situation of things as relating to these killer herders?
Well, this is the way I see it. When the president goes as far as saying, shoot anyone with an AK-47 on sight, he is sending a message to the security agencies. He's not the one going to execute it. You have the Inspector General of Police, you have the Chief of Army Staff, you have the head of the other group. I always find it difficult to call their names, the security and something. Those who wear the blue uniforms.
And
quite a number of these organizations exist. That NSCDC, yes, that's a message to them to be more dynamic and be more focused and concentrated in rooting out this evil that is destroying the country. So you can't have a stronger message, but he's not going to execute it himself. It is for these agencies now to take him on his words and actually totally disarm, if not kill anybody who is carrying arms illegally, which means that that person intends to use it to kill others. So I think what the president has said is enough. What we are expecting and where I'm disappointed is insufficient response by the agencies to whom that directive was addressed.
There has been agitations across the country, Professor Shage. Today, we saw that some eminent Nigerians who had a webinar under the aegis of fixed politics, and what they were discussing, basically, is a debate over whether or not to scrap the present constitution or amend it. Which one will work? These are some of the images of that webinar. But let me ask you, this might be perhaps a straight question. In your view, from what we have seen, the agitation from the south to the north, to the south-south and the southeast, and even in the southwest, we're seeing more agitation on the streets of Nigeria. Do we need to scrap this constitution and start all over, or we need just to amend this one?
My own personal preference is that we should scrap this constitution and adopt the 1963 Republican Constitution. That constitution contains everything that is being agitated for now. If we had that, if we adopted it, with amendments here and there to make it accommodate states rather than regions, which we used to have, I think all these agitations will die down and everybody will be happy.
Do you think President Buhari have the political will to make that happen?
I really don't know. But this is what I will say. He was the one who commissioned or his party, headed by him, commissioned the El Nasir committee to work on the issue of federalism. And they have come out with an excellent document. I think what we need to do is to look at the contents of those documents and implement them. And if they are to be implemented, as I said, it will probably be better if they were implemented in a totally new constitution instead of trying to amend the existing one, since it will involve so much amendment that using it as a document in future could be very difficult. So already you can say that President Buhari favors federalism, devolution of powers, already by heading a party that has made that recommendation.
But so why are they not implementing
what should happen now? Yes, I am personally disappointed that that excellent document is being allowed to gather dust. I think the leaders of the party should now bring it out and go to the president and say we should now make a move to implement what we ourselves commissioned and have approved. Because that is what the whole country wants now. You see, Nigeria is a natural federal state. It's a country with over 300 ethnic nationalities, a country in which River State, I was listening to OCJ Okocha this morning, over 6 nationalities in River State. In 1950, the very first national conference Nigeria had, all the delegates from north, from south, from east, from west, declared that the only way this country could be together and function effectively would be as a federal entity. And that's why we now had the McPherson Constitution, then the Littleton Constitution, and then the 1960 Constitution, all spelling out very strong, clear federal system, giving powerful, very strong autonomy to the federating units, and leaving the center to handle things that are only relevant at the national level, like passports, foreign affairs, defense, things like that, currency, and so on. Most of the other things were left to the regions to handle.
All right.
Maybe I'm one of the few. No, let me make my point. Okay, I'm one of the few who have actually seen this country from beginning, virtually. When I was in secondary school, I knew nothing about the federal government. I only knew about Ibadan and Awolowo. The region controlled my life from A to Z. I knew nothing about federal government. Everything worked perfectly, beautifully, happily. So that is what we are missing. The regions competed, Nigeria developed fast, the regions kept what they produced, sent 20% to the federal level, and then 30% to a distributable level, which was then distributed among the regions according to their needs. And everybody was happy. We just have to go back to that. Otherwise, Nigeria will not enjoy stability. There will be agitations and discontent all through. We have to go back to that, to pre-coup situation.
All right. Prof, yeah, we are out of time and we need to go, but I would like to get a 10-second reaction from you. The Nigerian Constitution Amendment process in the National Assembly will start, the public hearing will start, the process is on. What you're saying now, it does now put a question mark on that process, if that is the advice that you are saying. Do you think that that process is just a mere charade?
If we can have a process which will begin towards having a new constitution, it will be better. Until we have it, we can manage with what the National Assembly is doing, but certainly it is far from satisfactory, but may result in an improvement in what we have now. But what we really need is a clear departure from what we have. What we have now is a unitary constitution parading itself as a federal constitution, as Chief Williams said long ago. It's a constitution that's telling a lie about itself at so many levels. And one of them is that it says it's a federal constitution. It's not a federal constitution. It's a unitary constitution.
Professor Sage, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and the Chairman of the Presidential Advisory Council Against Corruption, PACAC. Thank you so much, Professor. It's good to hear your views and to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Shion Kimale. Bye for now.